Hello and welcome to Downtown. I'm your host, Robbie Haig, and thank you for being with us once again. As you all know, Downtown comes to you from Sandwich, Massachusetts, and today we have a wonderful friend visiting us, Vinny deMacedo. Vinny, it's always good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, thank you for taking time out of what has become a very busy time for you.
Sure, this has definitely been a pretty busy couple of weeks.
Yes. Yeah. And of course, Vinny is our state senator. And tell us a little bit about where you're going.
Well, first, let me take this opportunity to thank the people of the Plymouth and Barnstable district. As you know, my district is rather large, and so it's fitting that we're here in Sandwich because it starts in Pembroke, goes through Kingston, all of Plymouth, Sandwich, Bourne, and then of course Falmouth. Wow. And so it's about 170,000 people. And I have just had a wonderful opportunity over the last 5 years as the state senator here. I served 16 years, as you know, before in the House of Representatives, representing Plymouth, and you and I have a long history there as well. So it's been 21 years in the legislative process, and it's just been absolutely wonderful. We planned this show before. Yes. I had made an announcement, and that announcement that I made was that I'll be stepping down as state senator in the next 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, to pursue a career at Bridgewater State University. I just recently was given the position of Director of Regional Partnerships. And just to get a sense of what a regional partners, what regional partnerships is. Bridgewater State has a real large footprint in southeastern Massachusetts. They actually, here on Cape Cod, they have a satellite office, but there are 11,000 students at Bridgewater State. Wow. It is the 4th largest public institution, 10th largest college or university in Massachusetts as a whole. And so they're very active in so much of southeastern Massachusetts. And of course, southeastern Mass has been where I was brought up, where I was raised, where I've been in the political process. And not too long ago, I found out that they were looking for a director of regional partnerships, which was kind of so up my alley. And the goal of that job is to bring the college together with hospitals and businesses and chambers of commerce to find opportunities for students to get these paid internships, to be able to have a student who's having a career in, let's say, speech pathology and working with hospitals to try to get them in there, or schools, or somebody that's an educator and getting them into a school system, or someone who has an accounting degree and they're trying to learn, real world experience, how to be an accountant in the real world. Where can they work and actually get paid for that as well? And it's something that I think I'm uniquely qualified for. And so from that, that's the next venture for me. Hopefully the next 12 to 15 years will be the next stage of my career.
Did you say 12 to 15?
Well, I certainly hope I can do that there, so we'll see how it plays out.
Well, the work you've been doing in the past looks very good on you.
Thank you very much.
And of course, we all wish you so well. We're not happy to see you go, but that's the way life goes, isn't it?
That's it, And I know I've said this before, everybody through the political process, I've watched a lot of people come and go over the years, and as gracious as people have been, I'm certain that somebody else is going to come up behind me and do the same thing. We know it was a famous quote, but the seat isn't my seat; it's the people, and whoever comes here will be a reflection of those people. And that's a good thing. Change is always good. I've done the best I could. I tried to be, fair and honest and listen to people on both sides of the aisle. And if I have any encouragement for who succeeds me in this office, is to listen to both sides, listen to people, try to find that consensus and that balance, because that's how we move forward. And so we'll see. But I feel very confident that that will go and the transition will be smooth, and you hate to think it in some ways, but the reality is people will be like, Vinny who? Yeah,
Oh, well, I doubt that's going to
Yeah.
happen. But it's wonderful that you have been part of us the way you have been, and we all feel good about that. I haven't heard anyone say they were happy you were leaving. That's good.
My wife is.
Okay.
No, it is, but generally, in politics, it is somewhat divisive and whatnot, and I've really tried to make it not that as best I can. I see my job is to represent everybody. I wasn't just going to represent a party or myself and my own philosophy, but I was trying to find that balance. I mean, listen, everybody has world experiences and life experiences that brings them to a place of why they think they're. What I've learned is that spend time and get to know people and understand where they're coming from. Listen, and when you do that, you can get a better appreciation of where people are coming from, and you get a better chance of finding that common ground. And so that's what I've tried to focus on over the years. And so I know this is probably not what we were planning on talking about, but I guess it's appropriate since it's my last crack at probably having an opportunity to be on a show. But in my 21 years of experience up on Beacon Hill, so much is learned from listening to the other side, spending time, and it's very easy to just say, hey, this is where I'm at, and this is, I've got my blinders on, and this is where I'm going. It's a lot more difficult to listen to both sides and to find that that common ground. And I've really tried to do that, and I think I'm a better person 21 years later for it.
And 21 years, that's not a bad, you've given a lot in 21 years.
I think so.
Yes. And does any one thing stand out in your mind over the past 21 years?
Certainly I'm looking back now at it, I think as we all would, and when you're it's a big step to walk away from something that, fortunately I've been successful in. I've consistently garnered the support of a decent majority of people, and that certainly makes you proud. I guess from my perspective, it's the best part is that I think people have seen me as a collaborator, a person that brings people together, that isn't judgmental, that is trying to say, trying to do the right thing. And just from what I've heard over the last couple of weeks since I've made this decision, I feel it makes me proud that that's people have had a positive light, whatever your political leanings are. Right. That I was an individual that was always fair and honest. I know a lot of people don't necessarily have good feelings about politicians as a whole. Almost embarrassed to say sometimes what you do for a living, because people have that feeling that. You're a politician, they're all corrupt, and my experience is, they're not. They're just, people may not agree with us. They have different perspectives.
Well, going back to your brother, back when you were first beginning, he wanted you in this because you weren't a politician.
Yeah,
and that's that.
Yeah, he did, and my brother was a selectman for years in the town of Kingston. He certainly, got me in there. I was a small business owner, business guy. I didn't even think politics. I went to college, business major. I didn't think, political science. It wasn't, really what I thought about. But as a business owner, I started to realize that politics do play a role in business, and certainly some encouragement and
kind of like an on-the-job training.
Yeah. That's the beauty of this job. I mean, this job, I have learned so much about so many different things that I otherwise wouldn't have done. It's like getting a degree in every aspect of life, because people from both sides come to you, whatever the issue of the day, trying to educate you from their perspective. And getting both sides and understanding that is really important. And frankly, something that I hope in a small way, and I'm going to an institution of higher learning, that I can encourage that kind of understanding. Listen to both sides. Listen, and because it's very easy if my experience is if I would have someone come to me and I would tell me their side, and it's like, absolutely, that makes sense. And then you hear the other side and it's like, absolutely, that makes sense. And then somewhere in the middle is the truth.
Yes.
And that's a powerful thing. And most people kind of don't do that, especially nowadays, because people get their news, especially with algorithms and whatnot on their phones, they get the news that they want to hear, filtered the way they want to hear it. And so all you hear is your side, and the other side always hears their side. And that's part of what's driving people apart. And the beauty of hearing both sides puts you in a different position, because you see a bias, you understand the bias in a greater degree. Mm-hmm. And it's something to me that I think is incredibly powerful to be forced in that situation, because I think it makes all of us better. And so, hopefully in a small way, and I don't know if I'll ever have the opportunity, because that's not necessarily my job description, but I hope that people will listen to my experience in being in the political process for 21 years, and I think doing pretty well at it, listening to both sides makes you a better person, and I think makes society better.
I think that's why we have two of these.
Yeah, and one of those, yeah. Very good.
Do you think there's a possibility that you might, down the road, start teaching politics?
I don't think so. But, I certainly would like to, participate in that type of discussion. I've always loved talking to young people about my experience in the political process. There's textbook political science, and then there's real world political science. And I think that I could bring some value to real world political science and how it is to be effective in this world. I mean, it's campaigning, that's a real thing. Encouraging people to be involved in the political process and understanding that they have a say. You look at we go back quite a ways back there, and my first election, which I initially thought I won by 189 votes, I only actually won by 11 votes after everything was done, and you realize that made a difference. So people that I worked with and talked with and built relationships with, made the difference of giving me a chance to be in the political process. And so from that perspective, we do have a chance to make a difference. And so I hope that I get that opportunity in a small way to do it. I don't know if
well, in a roundabout way, it'll happen anyway, because you've acquired all that knowledge, and no knowledge goes unused. Yeah. That's how I.
Well, usually in academia, as you can imagine, the titles of a doctorate and something really it's significant, it matters. And that was a question they asked me. You're coming into higher ed, how do you feel that you don't have an advanced degree? And I said, listen, I get it and I understand, but I'd like to think that the 21 years that I've spent in the legislature has some level of value of an educational value that I think could really benefit the institution and I hope the students as well.
Well, 21 years of listening and learning is a wonderful thing.
Isn't it?
And it's not as though you did only listening, because you have been quite vocal.
Yeah. I've been vocal, but I've always, I found some neat opportunities to be able to help people. Because one of my district director, Monica Mullen. Right. And one of the biggest things that people don't understand that we do, because they just see the votes and stuff, it's the little stuff. It's the people that call you and say, I'm having the trouble with this agency or that agency, or this is happening in my life and I need help and I don't know where to go. And we connect people and we get them to the right people to get the assistance that they deserve through state government, or sometimes even through private organizations, but just bringing people together. That's incredibly rewarding. I mean, and some things you'll never hear about, but there's nothing...
But many things we do hear about
that
you may not know, because the people on the other side of that who are really pleased with what you've done are quite vocal also.
Right, and that's nice. The beauty is that, that when you do that is... I do it because it's so rewarding to help people. It really is. I tell you, I have, people will think, it's not, it can't be, it's not political anymore because I'm not in the politics. But man, I tell you, I get, nothing more satisfying than to be able to help somebody through a very difficult situation. And I've seen a lot of things in my 21 years of people just desperate in very difficult situations, and just being able to help them and get them an answer they need, or I'm people who've lost loved ones and dealing with the medical examiner's office. Just you name it. I've had some really bizarre things that I've had to be part of.
Yes.
But helping people in a time of need and being able to make a difference is fun.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, also, and I bring this up because I like people to be people.
Mm-hmm.
In all of these 21 years, you haven't let go of the pump
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
And to have people see you out there early in the morning before you go to work is a wonderful, refreshing thing.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, I own the gas station in South Plymouth that I've owned for 29 years now. And I've gotten up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I've headed over there from 6 to 7. I do the paperwork. I get to meet and greet people every day, and that's just, again, really important to keep yourself grounded in the real world. Understanding how a business operates and the challenges that a business operates, but just talking to everyday people that don't care what your title is. They're just regular people telling you what's going on, the issues of the day. And that was really an important thing that I did. I loved my business, but it's hard to do both. But it really helped keep me grounded in the real world, and I think that was a neat thing for me to be able to.
But you took time to do it, and that's absolutely wonderful.
So, thank you.
So you are leaving before your tenure is up.
Correct. Yep.
And do you think there's going to be a special meeting?
Yes, there'll be a special election. I will be leaving on at the end of the session of this. So every year we'll finish up. It's right before Thanksgiving, and we won't go in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So they'll start back up again in January. So I will finish up on November 20th. Then I'll head over there. Then at that point, the president has 20 days to set a date for a special election. They'll have a special election, and already there's probably 5 or 6 people that are in, maybe 3 or 4 more that have shown interest. So it's going to be spirited on both. Yes. I think on both sides of the aisle. And again, just going back. Just feel like I've done, I've had a pretty decent amount of support in this area, mm-hmm. and I think it's in large part because I've listened to both sides, and I hope whoever comes up after us does the same. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sure you have a pretty good idea of those people who are throwing their hat in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, some I do, some I don't. I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch. I'm not going to be able to be as political as I have been in the past with my role at Bridgewater State. I'll be a state employee. But it's
I didn't think of that, Vinny.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I have to be mindful of that, and that's fine. And I'm good with that because I feel like I've done that for 21 years, and I've certainly shared with people how I feel and what I can do, and what my positions are, and people are going to do the same. It's a challenge, I think, for people understanding that it's always easy to have an opinion about something until you have to have it publicly, and you have to explain why you think the way you think, and that takes real understanding and spending time. You just can't say I feel this way and then not have to explain it. And that's one thing that I've loved learning is how to have a position, take a position. And I'm very mindful of I wait before I try to take a hard position, because I do know that especially now, I know that there are 2 sides of an issue, and I wait before I decide exactly where I'm going to go. And that's something that I think is going to be, whoever my successor is going to be, is something they're going to have, a good lesson to learn. Before you take a position, listen and learn both sides, and then take a position. Mm-hmm.
Well, I heard you and many others at the legislative breakfast just about a month ago, and that was before we knew I think there were a few of us who were wondering what was coming up because we do listen,
Yeah, yeah.
like you listen. And it was interesting to hear those newbies talking at the legislative breakfast also.
Yes.
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 And there's one in particular that I have my eye on.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it is, and you know, I hope that I've had a chance to, you know, I mean, ment is a big word, but just to, you know, let them understand, hey, this is my experience of what's worked. You can do it however you choose to do it. And I've had people that have taken my advice, and I've had people that I've shared, and I've had people that, you know, just, hey, listen, I'm doing it a different way. And that's fine. I'm just, my experience. But being part of the Plymouth County delegation and the Cape Cod delegation, I don't think anyone can say that we are not a cohesive group. Very different political backgrounds. On Cape Cod, the Cape Cod delegation, same thing in the Plymouth County delegation, and yet we work together. As you said, we have fun, we joke, we rib each other. We don't take ourselves seriously, but we take the job seriously.
Yes.
And we know that the most important thing to do is to be effective. And it's not just about Plymouth, it's about, you know, the region. It's not just about Kingston, it's the region. And so we have to work together to be effective for our regions. And that's what, and you'll see in the Cape Cod delegation the same thing. We've done some pretty significant things, and they've been, you know, pretty, you know, big bold steps, but we did it together. So it wasn't all one-sided, the legislation that came through.
Yes. Well, I was very impressed at that legislative breakfast that when you were talking about the rainy day fund, which, I mean, that's very impressive if you want to talk a little bit about
so
that.
something that I've focused on, and again, this is years of experience, but I came into the legislature in '99. You know, revenues were strong, things were great. I think we all remember what happened on September 11th, 2001. It was all of a sudden the world stopped. And we went into downfall quickly, and then we had a rainy day fund that was kind of led at that time by Speaker Tom Finneran, who felt like you should have money to be prepared for a rainy day. Long story short, we built it up. We got to $2.8 billion back in 2007, 2008. And everybody knows what happened in 2008. We had the biggest crash since the Great Depression. Had we not had that $2.8 billion at that time, it would have been catastrophic. $2.8 billion in a $28 billion budget is pretty significant when revenues are dropping and the demand's increasing. And we were able to stopgap some important programs, keep things running till we got to the other side. And it took a long time to get to the other side. But here we are in 2014. Now we're looking at a $40 billion budget, and we were down to $1.1 billion, almost under, really actually under $1 billion. And we had a $40 billion budget. So if anything ever happened, we would have been in trouble. So the leadership of our governor, the Senate President now, Karen Spilka, who was the chair of Ways and Means, what I've sat on as well, and now our new chair of Ways and Means on the Senate side, and of course the House, have been systematically putting funds into that rainy day fund. We're at $3.1 billion. We should be at the end of this year, everything stays the same, about $3.6 billion. And so we're building that fund back up to prepare for a downturn, because you know what, it always happens. I've, in my 21 years, it's not a long time, I've seen these ebbs and flows, and it's just wisdom. As a business owner, I've learned it's always good to have money in those tight times, because you make better decisions when you're not forced into making tough decisions. When you understand and think long term.
Yeah.
So.
And also the unemployment rate.
Yes, the unemployment rate is just staggering, and below 3%.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom below 3%. And I remember going up before that same group and talking about some places having 15 and 16% unemployment, 10.8% unemployment on an average in the state, and having these conversations with the chambers of commerce and telling them, we're in for some rough roads and to be prepared. So to be able to get up before them and talk about below 3% unemployment is really encouraging.
Well, I think you've done a good job.
Well, thank you very
But
much.
that's coming from me.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I
You're a
listen to
little
people.
biased because you've been with me for a long time.
I am
and I
quite
appreciate,
biased.
And I appreciate your support and just the the opportunity that people give you to do something like this. This is a dream for a lot of people, and I know a lot of people run and they haven't had the chance to do what I've had to do. And I'd like to think, looking back after 21 years, that I'm a better person for it. I've done my best to try to make my community better than what I left it. I hope that I've been able to achieve that, but certainly.
I definitely think you have achieved it.
So.
And it's not just following you and believing in you. It's seeing you in public very often, as you know. I'm a
you're
public
very
person
active.
also.
Yeah.
I do like to be active, but there's so much out there that is heard and seen behind the scenes. You know?
Yeah, well.
And listening to the other people who support you, and we don't support you all the time.
Yeah, I hope people understand that. I get that. It's people don't 100%. Yeah.
Right, but you've been wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. You're very kind.
I don't want you going out with a very large head.
Well, the thing is that the nice thing about my job is I think you and I are going to be operating in the same circle still, and I'll still be helping people, and I'll be active in my area. We've got a lot of exciting things still going on, and I'm not just going away. I'm not moving away.
Right.
I'm going to still live right down the street, and I'm still going to be active and participate, just a different role.
And Plymouth 400 is still going to happen,
Still
even
is.
though you're changing.
Yes, exactly. It's still going to happen, and I still like to be able to participate in something that I've been working on for 12 years, and had to make the pitch up on Beacon Hill about how important it is.
Yes, you have.
And we've worked hard to try to get the community in a place to be prepared to be on the world stage. And I'll tell you, it is just, and I say this all the time, but understand that Plymouth 400 isn't really just about Plymouth. It's
Correct.
It's about the nation. It's about what happened 400 years ago that transformed the world, not just America, but the world. Democracy is an amazing thing, and it happened here. Religious liberty is an amazing thing. It happened 400 years ago when these people left everything. 102 of them. And in a year, half of them died, and they still stayed because they believed in a principle. That principle permeated this nation, and frankly, it permeated the world. And that's and there's still a lot of other places that don't have what we have. We are really blessed in this nation.
Yeah.
And I like to give a lot, credit to those forebears who came before us, who created a place for us to be able to be free.
Mm-hmm. And we're still reaching across the waters to bring them over.
Absolutely.
And
see, but that's beautiful. I mean, here we left them, and
Yes.
yet, look at in retrospect, we have this great relationship. We had, this terrible war with Japan. Look at the relationship we have with Japan. We had a terrible war with Germany. Look at the relationship we have. We're better, and we can come together because the ideals of individual liberty are so important for the good of everybody is so important that people understand that, and so for as bad as things have been, things can get better, and so we're looking at some tough times right now, but things will get better.
yes, we'll hope that things will continue to get better just by talking about them and getting together.
You got it.
We don't need any big booms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Vinny, I thank you for being here. It's always good to talk to you. I'll be seeking you out throughout town.
Sure.
You can be sure of that.
I'm sure of that.
I wish you very, very well, as I'm sure so many of your constituents do. And sorry to see you go, but you're not going very far.
That's right. Yeah, so.
Okay. And we'll miss your smile at the legislative breakfast.
I'll be in the audience.
I bet you will.
Yeah.
And thank you all out there for being part of us. We're so glad to have you here and talk with Vinny while he's going into another venture in his life. Wish him well. And I wish that I will see you again real soon. And thank you for being part of Downtown at Sandwich, Massachusetts.